Welcome back to the Muay Thai Nutrition Podcast. I'm going to stop saying it's been a while because I'm basically just going to say that at the beginning of every podcast if I continue to do that. When I first started this podcast, I wanted to make sure that it wasn't something that ever became a burden to me. So I agreed with myself that I would just record episodes as and when I have the free time as just a fun extra thing to do, and I'm keen to keep it that way. So who knows when the next one will be, hopefully soon, but I'm not making any promises. Since the last episode, a few updates. So my fight career has gone pretty well, I would say, this year, after last year being sidelined for a year due to knee surgery. This year I've had 6 fights so far, 6 wins, and 5 of them by knockout, all around the local Chiang Mai level. So I'm pleased with that, but I'm ready to move on to a tougher challenge and to fight at a higher level on some bigger promotions. Hopefully squeeze in a few more before the end of the year, so keep an eye out for that. Also, the Fight and Nutrition course, we've just made an update to it. So we've added recipe books in the year-round performance, the fight camp, and the fight week sections. So in addition to all of the information and, the number side of things, you've now got a comprehensive selection of recipe books to give you a little bit of inspiration for what to eat. On the subject of the Fight and Nutrition course, if you are someone who struggles with your nutrition, especially post-fight or post-diet nutrition, which is the topic of today or is related to today's topic, if you're someone who struggles with this, then Don Heatrick and I have created the solution. It's the Fight and Nutrition course. We've had some fantastic feedback so far, and I'm just going to run you through a few quotes from our current members right now. James does a phenomenal job of simplifying a very complex subject and offers a very practical and actionable guide to meeting your weight cut needs. Truly the best material on weight cuts I have come across. Another member said, for the post-fight section, I cannot emphasize enough how much I appreciated James's approach here. He fully acknowledges the important role of mental capacity to maintain or not particular diets. This is something that, in my opinion, is severely under-discussed in nutrition literature and yet is the reason that most diets fail. Some great feedback there. Another one, for me, the sections on weight cut and post-fight were the most impactful. I have never encountered such in-depth and yet simply laid out advice for managing diet during these periods. Another one, the course entirely streamlined my most recent weight cut. It took much of the guesswork and uncertainty out of the process for me. Second last one, the weight cut process can be incredibly stressful, and this course taught me so much stress can be alleviated by having a trustworthy source to tell you what to do. And finally, this course has incredibly high value and I would buy it 1,000,000 more times. So rather than me just telling you why the course is so amazing, I thought it would be useful to share some feedback from customers and members who've actually bought the course and tried it for themselves. So if you're on the fence, then hopefully that pushes you to make the decision. I promise you it will be one of the best decisions you make regarding your performance and your overall fight and training career. If you are interested, go to jamesnicholnutrition.com/FNC or the link in my Instagram bio to join today. The current pricing is the cheapest it will ever be, so please don't procrastinate. Start today. Okay, that's the introduction out the way. Now, the topic of today's podcast is energy flux, which essentially involves eating more and moving more. Now, if you can hear a whirring sound in the background, it's because I'm recording this at my kitchen table. I live in Thailand where it's pretty hot, even in rainy season, and I don't have air conditioning downstairs, so I've got a fan blasting in the background. So hopefully you can't hear it too loud, and I hope it's not too distracting. Anyway, energy flux. So this concept of energy flux is most relevant for fighters in the post-fight stage because it's an approach to maintaining your weight loss or at least minimizing weight regain. We all know that dieting is hard and maintaining your results after dieting is even harder. The research shows this. So today, what I will discuss is a concept in energy flux that could make maintaining your results or maintaining a leaner body composition easier than it otherwise would be. Now, it's important to begin with some definition. So you've probably heard of energy balance before. If you imagine a set of scales, energy balance just means that the scales are balanced. The weight on one side is equal to the weight on the other. in terms of energy balance when it relates to nutrition. It means the calories on one side, the calories in, are equal to the calories out, so they're balanced. Now you can have a low flux, a low energy flux state and be in energy balance, and you can be in energy balance at a high flux state as well. So what do these mean? So well, energy balance at a low flux state means that the scales are balanced, but the weight on either side, or the calories on either side, calories in, calories out in relation to nutrition, are low. So a low flux energy balance would be that you aren't consuming many calories and you're not burning many calories. So you're pretty sedentary, but you don't eat much, and so you're at energy balance. Energy balance at a high energy flux state would be the energy in still matches the energy out because it's energy balance, but it's a high flux state. Now that means the energy in is high, you're eating a lot, and the energy out is high because you're moving a lot as well. When we apply this to weight loss, the relationship between in versus out determines our outcome. So it's the energy balance that determines whether or not you lose weight. You can lose weight in a low energy flux state. You can lose weight in a high energy flux state, and the same goes for maintenance as well. And so when we look at weight maintenance, you can maintain your weight with a low energy flux, i.e. you don't eat much, but you don't move very much. So you're matching your energy out and your energy in. Or you could match your energy out and energy in by eating a lot and moving a lot as well. So what do people normally do when they try to lose weight? Mostly people will eat less and move more compared to their baseline. Now we know that this works in the short term, but we also know that it's very hard to sustain in the long term. And for any diet and nutrition plan, adherence, the ability to stick to it, is number one. Plus, consciously having to restrict your calories year round is really not fun. And this means either you don't stick to it or you do, but you hate your life. And neither of these are good outcomes. And when you underfuel in the long term, your body is in a constant state of low energy availability. And this state is quite common in chronic dieters and also in fighters as well. Adaptations will occur within your body to basically stop you losing weight forever and dying. If you were just in a 500 calorie, for argument's sake, calorie deficit, and your body didn't make any adjustments, you would lose weight and lose weight and lose weight until you die. But to stop this happening, from an evolutionary perspective, dying is not optimal for passing on your genes. Your body has features that essentially turn your body into a power saving mode to reduce the amount of energy out. So it downregulates non-essential functions. So if you're a female athlete and you've experienced amenorrhea, which is where you stop having your period after long periods of dieting, this is one of those functions. In addition to that, just generally, and sort of as a symptom of this downregulation, reduced life energy, reduced training output. If you're feeling sluggish and slow and like you're running on empty in training, you're almost certainly going to expend less energy. And all of these adaptations serve to reduce your energy out in response to low energy in, i.e. low calorie consumption after chronic dieting. So this state results in you ending up in a low input, low calories in from dieting, and low output from basically this extended low energy availability, which leaves you in a state of low energy flux. You're not eating much because you're trying to lose weight, but you're not expending much energy because your body is fighting this weight loss once it gets to a certain point. So let's dive into low energy flux in a little bit more depth. As I've mentioned before, low calories consumed and low activity levels lead to a low energy flux state. When you diet, you will inevitably reach a plateau at some point. So your weight will go down initially, and then at some point the weight will stop going down. This is a sign that your energy out is approximately equal to your energy in on an ongoing basis. It might not be exactly day to day, but when we look at weekly and multiple weeks together, your energy in roughly equates to your energy out. If you want to break this plateau in this low energy flux state, you will have to reduce your calorie intake even further. This will keep happening, and eventually it will get to a point where the calories you would need to consume in order to keep losing weight will become too low so that you can't realistically stick to it consistently. Also, reductions in your resting metabolic rate and your activity, both exercise and non-exercise activity, are also going to increase the difficulty of losing weight the further you get into this diet period. Not to mention the psychological consequences of this restriction-based approach, where if you're in a low energy flux state and you're trying to use this low energy flux approach, you will have to just keep restricting calories in the long term in order to maintain your leanness. So hopefully I've summed up low energy flux and the relatively bleak outlook that this approach has. Onto something a little bit more positive, which is a high energy flux state. So let's dive into it in a little bit more depth. In a high energy flux state, you will eat more than you would do in a low energy flux state, and you'll also move more. It's especially beneficial for the maintenance of weight loss, for example, post-fight or post-diet. From a theoretical perspective, you can diet on low energy flux or high energy flux, but when it comes to maintaining your weight loss or managing your post-fight weight gain to reasonable levels, it's a completely different ball game. A high energy flux state for weight maintenance has a whole host of benefits. Just to run them through quickly, you can eat more, you have a greater chance of successfully maintaining your results, you improve your performance and health, you have an improved natural regulation of your appetite as well. So let's dive into each of these 4 key benefits one by one. So benefit number 1, you can eat more. You can eat more calories to maintain your weight or your level of leanness because you're maintaining high activity levels, and these are keeping you at energy balance. So yes, after a fight, your energy your calories are going to be higher because it's after a fight and you're fed up of the 6, 8, 10, whatever weeks of dieting, and you're going to hopefully celebrate the win. So you're going to consume more calories, but increasing or maintaining more realistically your activity levels rather than going from, training twice a day to just sitting on the sofa doing nothing, maintaining some degree of reasonable activity levels are going to keep you in a much better state, potentially around energy balance, or if we're talking post-fight, maybe a small surplus, but it's going to manage the surplus. Ultimately, it doesn't matter how much weight is on either side of the scale, as long as it's mostly balanced, assuming that weight maintenance is the goal. So it doesn't matter how many calories you're consuming, it doesn't matter how many calories you are burning, as long as they are approximately equal, then you will maintain your weight. Also, the benefit of this approach is it's much more of an abundance approach because you can eat more versus the restriction approach of low energy flux. In a high energy flux state, you can consume more energy. You're putting more energy into fueling your body and activity rather than a restrictive state in which you're not moving much and you're not able to eat much because your activity levels are so low. Also, positive metabolic adaptation can occur. It works both ways. So just how your energy levels, your training performance, and your body can go into power saving mode in response to chronic undereating, like I mentioned before. The reverse is also true. So your energy levels and your training performance will increase in response to increased energy intake to a certain point. It's not, if you suddenly eat 5,000 calories a day, you're not going to be, a cardio machine with 10 pounds extra muscle or anything like that. But ensuring that you're not chronically undereating is going to allow your body to come out of this quote unquote power saving mode, and it's going to support your training performance and just your daily life energy a hell of a lot more. Now, we also know that adherence, i.e. the ability to stick to your diet, is the number one factor that determines the success of any nutrition program. And I don't know about you, but from my perspective, a higher calorie intake is most likely going to be a lot easier to stick to than a lower calorie intake. The second benefit is that you have a greater chance of successfully maintaining your results. In the research, when we look at individuals who've lost weight and successfully maintained it, which is a relatively small percentage, high activity levels are a common factor. It's theorized that keeping up your activity levels can help to make up for the reduction in your non-exercise activity levels that we see during dieting. So when you diet for a long period of time, your daily life movement generally tends to reduce a little bit. So if you keep up an exercise routine, this can mitigate or reduce the impact of some of these reductions. Benefit number 3, improved performance and health. Your exercise performance and overall health will both be improved via living in a high energy flux state. simply because this approach involves more physical activity. Also, being able to consume more calories will support your recovery. If you increase your low intensity activity, things like going for walks or jogging or any cardiovascular or aerobic activity, it can support your recovery also through increased blood flow, which increases the nutrient delivery and decreases delayed onset muscle soreness or DOMS. So it improves your performance and your health as well. And finally, it's been shown to improve your natural appetite regulation. High levels of physical activity can help you to manage your appetite, and exercise tends to have a suppressive effect on appetite. If you're someone who gets hungry on rest days, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. Even though you're burning less energy on the rest day because you haven't got that suppressive effect that you normally get from exercise, ironically, even though you're doing less exercise, you tend to feel more hungry. So you need less calories, but you feel more hungry on rest days. And this is quite a common experience. It's shown that high levels of physical activity can improve your ability to match your energy intake to your energy expenditure intuitively. That means that you're better in touch with your hunger and satiety signals, and you're less likely to overeat as a result. In terms of a post-fight or post-diet phase and how this can help, after we lose weight for a fight or even just regular dieting, many people will have been restricting calories and doing lots of activity in order to achieve this weight loss. This is the classic eat less, move more approach, which is okay for dieting. To some degree, it's required. However, after the diet or after the fight is over, excess weight regain is common, largely due to dysregulated appetite. Basically, you feel more hungry, so you eat more. You don't get full up as quickly, which results in consuming more calories than you need, which results in excess weight regain. If you decrease your activity levels, like most will do after a fight, and increase your food intake, again, like most people will do after a fight, if you do this at the same time, decreasing activity and increasing food, it's going to be very hard to manage your weight regain to a reasonable amount. Now, when we look at studies that compare high and low energy flux states, they've reported that every subject in the high energy flux group, which is where you're eating more and moving more, reported less hunger and greater fullness despite engaging in high levels of physical activity. And this study also found resting metabolic rates to be higher in the energy flux state. Again, this is the positive metabolic adaptation that I touched on before. You're less down-regulated. It's the opposite of that. Because you're eating plenty, your body upregulates. Now, you can theoretically maintain weight on high energy flux or low energy flux, as long as you're at energy balance. But I would argue that a high energy flux state is much more conducive to adherence, basically being able to stick to the program, maintaining your results, well-being, and the other benefits I mentioned before. So in terms of some practical tips, how to actually put this into action. Increasing activity doesn't mean that you need to be spending hours and hours in the gym every day. It's important to note that. By saying moving more, I don't mean you need to be, constantly moving throughout the day and doing a very fatiguing amount of activity. It could be as simple as focusing on increasing your daily steps, going for some more walks throughout the day and engaging in more low intensity forms of activity like swimming and cycling. These low impact forms of cardio are especially good in a post-fight state because there's not as much wear and tear with them. All of these will contribute to getting yourself into a high energy flux state, so any method of increasing your activity. And this is certainly something to be considered in the post-fight phase, where lots of fighters will dramatically increase their calories and reduce their calorie expenditure at the same time. Adding in some low intensity activity after a fight can help to achieve this high energy flux state, reduce rapid weight gain, and achieve all the other benefits I mentioned so far, including improved performance, recovery, health, improved appetite regulation, and improved mental well-being. So if you're struggling to manage your post-fight nutrition, after your next fight, try adding in some low to moderate intensity walking, cycling, or swimming, and it can make a world of difference. That's it for today. If this was helpful, please do share it with someone who may benefit from hearing this information. If you struggle with post-fight nutrition, Don Heatrick and I have created the Fighting Nutrition course, which is the answer to all of your problems. I'm only half joking there. go to jamesnicholnutrition.com/FNC or the link in my Instagram bio to join today. As I mentioned at the beginning, this current pricing is the cheapest it will ever be. So please grab it now while you can get it at what is frankly a steal for the value you get. We also have a 30-day money back guarantee. So if you do buy it and you think it's not worth the money, then let us know within 30 days and you'll get your money back, no questions asked. There's literally nothing to lose. Thank you for listening. I'll catch you in the next one.